Hey yo guys, how's it going? Tally here, and today I'm going to bring you my top 8 Reddit non-meta tournament deck profile. And I did play heroes, I did represent the best deck, the actual guy that won it did also play heroes, shout out to that guy. Now, overall with this deck, I went X2, I went X1 in Swiss, so out of 8 rounds I only lost 1 match, actually to the guy who won, so that's okay. And I only lost my top 8 match, where of course it was a top cut. So overall, I'm really happy with this deck. There's a few things that I would change, ultimately, just in kind of hindsight, and I will talk to you about a massive mistake I made when submitting my deck list. So guys, let's dive right in. Okay, so starting off with the main deck, let's take a look at what we've got. So this is pretty standard, we are playing free Stratos, you don't play less than free Stratos. Essentially, this card is your starter, extender and finisher. Alright, this card can grab you a card early game, can grab you a card late game that allows you to close off everything. Also, it can pop back row depending on how many other heroes are on the field. Not really once per turn neither, which is pretty nifty, comboing off with some other cards that we play. And again, it's just tasty. Alright, you cannot run any less than free Stratos. Now, something I do that I don't think super in vogue, but I run 2 Liquid Soldier, because usually what I do is I search it out early game to help me draw in 2 trap cards. But then it ends up in the graveyard, and really it's only good for a Miracle Fusion target at that point. And really, sometimes I want to be able to use its normal summon effect as a late game finisher. You know, normal summon this, get a Stratos, get like anything else, then you've got like loads of bodies on board. So I do like to run 2. I think I would rather have extra chances of having it in my hand rather than searching it sometimes. And again, it's just such a good utility card, so like why not run an extra copy of it? I'm also running 2 Shadow Mist, which is fairly standard, excuse me. Again, you dump it to the graveyard, it searches, you special summon it, it gets you a mask change, pretty standard. Mask change, you can use Liquid Soldier to revive Shadow Mist late game to seal off a mask change victory with Anki. Also for our one-offs we have an Honest Neos, which just boosts your attack points and buffs your guys. We have a Solid Soldier as well, because he was quite handy to go into, like, you know, your Stratos plays. Alright, it's also really good to get your Elemental Hero Shadow Mist on the board for free. Now that's our Elemental Heroes. We also have Free Vision Hero Faris. You discard a hero card, you summon it, you get out your increase in the Spell and Trap Zone, which we run 2 of. It then tributes a hero monster to special summon itself, and when it does so, it summons Vision Hero Vion, which dumps a card to the graveyard and then also searches Polymerization. So that could be Mali that it dumps, it could be Shadow Mist, it's usually one of those 2. And of course, getting the poly is pretty crucial to this deck because you want to get things such as Sunrise. Now, speaking of Mali, he is the only Destiny hero we are running. They banned Fusion Destiny for this tournament, which I think hindered heroes, made it play slightly different, but of course you cannot play Mali. Right, he's so good, he's a +1, he's a good recovery play. You don't always have to shotgun him. What I like to do is I send him, and then if I've got anything else to use, I'll wait for Mali, right? I'll wait, because it might be a really good turn 3 or a really good kind of turn 4 play to finish off the game. And to round off our last monster, we have 1 Evil Hero Adusted Gold. Discard it, get yourself the Dark Calling, and then as long as you've got a level 5 or higher monster in the graveyard, you've got your Bane, and your Bane will smash. This guy is going to be reprinted one day, guys. I know he's not for you budget players, and my heart does go out to you, but he will be reprinted one day, probably as a secret, which is pretty nifty. So, moving on to our spells, we are running the classic free Mask Change. Essentially, it takes your heroes, turns them into other heroes. We've got free Emergency Call. And again, we just want to have like the highest consistency possible. This is just a non-once per turn search card, so you're effectively running 6 copies of Stratos or 6 copies of any E-hero so far. Let's make that slightly better with a hero lives, special summoning a hero from deck, provided you've got no other monsters on field. So you get to summon an elemental hero, a level 4 or lower, specifically elemental hero from your deck, which is always going to be Shadow Mist or Stratos to get you that +1. We also have our fusion cards. We have Dark Calling, Polymerization and Miracle Fusion. Dark Calling is for your evil heroes, Poly is for your regular fusion heroes, and Miracle Fusion is for extending into big beefy plays. Also, as another kind of extender, we do have Foolish Burial, which again can be like another Rota if you're sending a Mali to use off Cross Crusader, and it can be like another Rota through Shadow Mist, or just get the pieces engraved that you want. We also have another Rota, so we're running roughly 8 copies of Reinforcement of the Army here to get our heroes onto the board. and that's our spell cards. Alrighty, again, every spell card is either an extender or it's like a combo piece, and it's going to help us close off the games. Now, I run a very trap heavy build normally, and this build is even more trap heavy because basically I wanted to play this almost like Salomon Greats, set up a chill board with a couple of back row, maybe a pop or two, like through Sunrise, and then kill them game free or turn free. So I ran free Solemn Strike, I ran free Solemn Judgment, I ran free Infinite Impermanence, and I ran 2 cards which quite frankly I just shouldn't have even played because I never drew into them once. 2 a Pointer of the Red Lotus. So essentially the game plan here was like I wanted to play a resource game, set up a Darklaw Sunrise and a couple of traps going first. What are they really going to do against that? I wanted to have them search cards, rip a card with Darklaw, rip another card with like a Pointer of the Red Lotus, really choke out the resources, negate and slow them down with like Infinite Impermanence, Judgment, Strike, and then go in for the kill on turn 3. I would actually just cut a card entirely, and I would make this a Monster Reborn if I was to do this again. But overall, like the idea of these, right, this being a great hand trap as well, like these were great. You know, the strikes, the judgments, the impermanences, all great. This not so much, I literally never drew into it once. Like, I just never seen it. So I would probably cut this and then turn this into a Monster Reborn, just to have more extenders in future. And guys, that's the main deck. The main deck's rounding off at about 42 cards, I think, which allows you to draw into a lot of your like search cards, but it also means that you're kind of avoiding a lot of your garnets as well. So let's move on to the extra deck. Okay, so taking a look at our extra deck, again, by and large, pretty standard, but I made a massive mistake when I submitted my deck list that I didn't notice until I'd actually started playing. So let me talk to you about it. So of course we are running the 2 Darklaw. He's absolutely mandatory, he's a good boy, banishes everything that would go to the graveyard, and can rip a card from your opponent's hand. For other masked heroes we're running 1 Acid because it's a Harpy's Feather Duster on legs. We're running an Anki because it gets you a mask change. It's like one of the best cards in Duel Links, so it must be good here, and it can attack directly for like that little extra push. And we're also running a Masked Hero Blast, which is kind of getting a little warped. Need to sort that out. Which also allows you to get rid of back row, much like Stratos. It also allows you to like weaken monsters to push for a bit more damage. So that's our Masked Heroes. Again, pretty decent selection. We're covering the key attributes of heroes, right? The only thing we don't have is a light target in our main deck. And to be honest, like the light Masked Hero isn't really that great. So those are our masked guys. Next we have our elemental guys. So we have the standard Sunrise, he's a good boy. He allows you to get Miracle Fusion, also beefs your monsters up. He also allows you to destroy cards on the field when other heroes attack or are attacked. So he's a good boy like that. We have Absolute Zero, again another good boy. When he leaves the field, he just blows everything up. So you can mask change him into Acid, they blow everything up, full board wipe, absolute nuke, game over, 25 kill streak. And the final hero that I'm playing in this build is Great Tornado. Now, because I didn't have access to Dystopia, I really desperately wanted an excuse to play this guy, right? He's low-key really cool. Essentially, when he's summoned, he halves the attack and defense of all face-up monsters your opponent controls, which for the most part it wasn't my go-to. But there was one game that I would have lost if I didn't have this guy in the deck. So I'm really happy with having this dude. He really helped me out. And again, if you're not playing with Dystopia, I recommend this guy, right? He's a good Miracle Fusion target for Stratos. And again, it allows you to just push really hard to end a game. And those are our elemental heroes. We do have our one-offs. We have our Vision Hero Trinity, which is just a big beefy boy. And we have our Malicious Bane, another big beefy boy. This guy attacks 3 times with 5k attack points when he's summoned. This guy is Raigeki. He gets more powerful and he punches people hard in the face. Anything weaker than him dies, essentially. Now here's where I made my mistake, right? I accidentally clicked on the wrong extra hero. So I played this tournament with 1 Cross Crusader. I came second in Swiss, going X1 in 8 rounds. And I came in the top 8, and I only had 1 Cross Crusader. That was a hellish experience. Alright, make sure that you're submitting your deck list properly, guys. And I had 2 Wonder Driver. Now, it came up, I think, once or twice to have that extra Wonder Driver, because I do like to reset my fusion and mask spells, so that was fine. But I only had 1 Cross Crusader. We ran the Dread Decimator because he's a good boy. We want to beef up our monsters, or boof, as I said earlier. And lastly, Cross Sheep is a pretty cool kind of just a generic link 2 that allows you to extend. The play I like is having cross sheep, using like going into Bane or Trinity under it, then reviving a Stratos or a Shadow Mist if I haven't used Shadow Mist already, get a mask change, and that pretty much seals the deal. So overall, I'm really happy with this deck list. Again, the only changes I would have really made is I would have cut this and changed this to a Monster Reborn for an additional extender, and I would have played with 2 Cross Crusader like a normal person. So guys, let's take it to the outro. Guys, that is the deck profile. Thank you very much for watching. I do hope you enjoyed, and I hope you enjoyed the different spin on the deck. And of course, as always, if you like it, give it a like. If you love it, give it a share and tell everyone you know about Team Tally today. And if you want to join Team Tally, then the subscribe button is down below. As always guys, you have been amazing. I have been Tally. I will catch you all later. Bye.